Hello, I'm going to show you how to prep plants for FTA cards to ship in for genetic identification. The first step is to take your plants that you have and you want to rinse them off to make sure there's no debris or algae or anything on the plants. Once they're on the cards, the DNA will just kind of stay there and there's no way to really clean it any further, so it needs to be cleaned at this step. You want to take about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of the plant material, and you rinse it off. If the stems are really small or if they're not much there, like with this plant I just took 2, you can take 1 or 2. You want to put it in a paper towel and you want to blot off any excess water that might be on the plants. And then you're going to label your FTA card with, right here I have the sample ID because I'm prepping it here in the lab, but you'd want to label it with the name of the lake, the location from the sample is within the lake, and then the date that it was put onto the card. And then what you're going to want to do is you'll want to take your plants and you're going to put them into the little designated space right behind your label. You're going to fold over the top. It's going to have this nice little waxy area right here. And you're going to take, I use a hammer, but you can also use a spoon. It works just as well. And you want to tap it with just a little bit of force for about 10 to 15 seconds. And that's going to break open the plant tissue and start putting all of that DNA onto the filter card itself. And then I just kind of rub it to make sure that it's there. So now when you open it, you should see some nice dark greenish red areas where you hit it with your spoon or your hammer, and that just means that it worked. So then what you want to do is you want to take your tweezers and just remove any excess solid tissue that you can find. And the main reason for this is once these cards dry, if that tissue becomes dry and starts to flake off, it could potentially contaminate the sections next to it. So it's not going to be always possible to get everything off, but as long as you get as much as possible, it's perfectly fine. And while you're doing that, you just want to be careful that you don't drop anything into the other sections, regardless of whether or not you have plants in the other sections. And you want to be very gentle when you do this. When this filter paper is wet, it's a bit easy to tear. And the more you tear it, the less DNA there is for me to work with. And there you have your finished product. And what you want to do is just let this dry for about an hour, and then it goes inside one of these manila envelopes, and that will be sent to me. They can dry, air dry. If you happen to be somewhere where there's wind or where there's a boat, you can probably just stick them into this envelope right away, and it should still be okay like that. And once it's in this card condition, then you can just ship it whenever you want to. Finally, if you're working with multiple plants, the next and final step would be to dip your tweezers into 30% bleach to get rid of any DNA that might be on them, and then rinse it in water. And then it's good to go for the next set.